Jimmy Paraskevas. I'm the Customer Experience and Insight Manager for Saffron Building Society. I've been there for just over a year. Previous to that, I worked for Barclays for around 20 years. Most recent role was as Senior Customer Propositions Manager there. So heavily involved in insights in that previous role as well.
Okay, great. And rather odd question to start with. When you were about 7 or 8 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I mean, it's a while thinking back that far, but at that age, I wanted to be a writer. I loved writing short stories, and I remember finding some of my stories when I was about 15 years ago that my teachers had commented on, and it inspired me to go and write and self-publish a book.
Brilliant.
So I did do it, but that's what I wanted to do.
And that book is called?
After Dark, and it's available on Amazon.
Wow, a literary giant amongst us.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
Can you tell us about your role and what you see as being the two most enjoyable aspects of the role, maybe one or two of the worst bits?
My role, in a nutshell, is looking after customer experience. So our NPS, customer satisfaction scores, but then looking deeper into that as well on how we can learn from what members or customers are telling us to try to make things better. And then also it's how we take insight that's either available or that we can create and then use that within the society to create a better experience for our members, whether that's products or the services they receive. I'd say the two most enjoyable parts of the role are probably looking at how agile we can be as a business, where we can take insight that we've learned and very quickly get moving and being able to create something from that, whether that's testing a proposition or creating a new product that our members have told us they want. It's that insight that gives us the key to do that, which is great. The other really enjoyable part is seeing the business change from when I first arrived. There was no insights team before I arrived. I'm the first iteration of that role, if you like, and it's seeing how decisions used to be business based and are now very much member based on what our members are telling us. So that's two really enjoyable things. Two things not so great. I guess they're kind of spin-offs off of a couple of the enjoyable parts. So the first one is the fact that I've only been at Saffron just over a year and there wasn't this insight focus or lens before, means that whilst some really good stuff has happened, there are still some decisions perhaps that we've made hastily without really looking at the insight and making sure we're getting it right first time for our members. And then again, the second thing I'd say is the fact that because we are so agile, I think sometimes things can move too quickly. And often being able to test, learn, really find what the insight is telling you and really listen to what members, customers, whoever it is, what they're really telling you with or without their words, that's where you can really learn and really come up with propositions that make a difference.
And you mentioned insight. So do you have a sort of personal definition of what is insight?
For me, it's always, and whether it's this role or previous roles I've been in, it's knowing what is making people tick or what is really important to them without them necessarily telling you. So it's what is shaping people's behavior, what's shaping their habits, what is the why behind things that are happening. For me, that's insights, is finding those root causes and seeing or recognizing what certain insights are telling you and then being able to use that to change direction or to reinforce the course that you're on. Because without that, it's either guesswork or it's internally driven without that insight.
Okay. So I'm really interested because you're the first insight expert that the Building Society has taken on. How is it you're working with product and marketing teams? Because some of them aren't going to have had any experience of working with somebody like you. So I'm genuinely interested in terms of the good bits and the bad bits of how you're engaging and working with them.
I'm quite fortunate in that very early on, I was able to present some ideas and some findings that really surprised them. And I think early on, I was able to get their buy-in into why Insight is so important. So I have a weekly call with product and marketing on what's the latest insight and trends that we're seeing, that I'm hearing, what are the latest tests or things that I've been working on with FlexMR that we can learn from or change. And I've got some cracking examples of where we've done that and really been able to shape things because of the insight. But yeah, there's weekly meetings with product and marketing, a monthly face-to-face where all of the product and marketing team come in and I'll present to them what I have to help shape what they're doing going forwards. And then I also feed into the board and exec level as well with our latest insights, what we're seeing, what we're hearing from members, both through our NPS and customer satisfaction surveys, and then also from the insight work as well that I'm doing.
Great, Jimmy, thank you. So can you tell me what features of InsightHub do you use most often, and how do they support your objectives?
Yeah, I would say from InsightHub, what I use most often would be probably the survey MR function. I like to get very quick temperature checks when I can from our member panel. We have quite a well-engaged member panel. Response rates are really good. And if there's a question I want answered quickly, I find those quick surveys that can go out to members really help give me very quick insight that I can use with our product and marketing teams to let them know how things are working. And it's really easy to put together yourself as well. So I know that's something I can self-serve with, not needing to bother my contacts within the team. And yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite function.
That's great. And I know you've only been there a year, but is there any examples that sort of spring to mind that you recall where you've used InsightHub to really, create a piece of insight and that's had massive impact through your organization?
Yeah, I think the most important impact that some of this work through InsightHub has had most recently, I'd say, is my work on trying to understand vulnerability within our customers. So we know it's a really important subject that impacts everyone at some point in their lives. But I was able recently to go out and find from our members how vulnerability, what did it mean to them? How does it impact them? Whether or not they consider themselves in a vulnerable position, and also whether or not they would proactively volunteer that sort of information to us. Because our recording levels of vulnerabilities within the society weren't at a very high level. So we weren't seeing lots of vulnerability being recorded for our members. And I had a suspicion, looking at our demographics and our customer base, it should have been higher. So working with the panel using InsightHub, I found that members didn't like actually that word vulnerability, but acknowledged that many times they were in a position where it could be classified as that. It's just not something they would proactively think of or want to tell us about. So then I worked with our retail teams. Off the back of that insight, we changed our wording and how the topic was being introduced, added an extra couple of lines at the end of a script that they use, and we more than doubled the amount of recorded vulnerabilities in 1 month. So it just shows finding out from the members what they think first, them making that actionable change with the team made a massive difference.
Okay, so huge impact in terms of the end result from a customer.
It doubled the amount.
That's a great example. Jimmy, any other examples that spring to mind in terms of how InsightHub helped you create impact within the organization?
Yeah, I guess I have an example where I've used other features within the InsightHub as well, actually, where one of the main kind of topics I had to fix when I joined was the broker experience, the mortgage broker experience. Our system isn't the most intuitive when brokers are submitting their cases, and often there are sticking points that can impact how effectively they submit their cases and how long things can take. And there are some issues with our systems where they can cause delays, which ultimately impact our members at the end of the day and their ability to buy their home or to remortgage, whatever it is they're doing. So I created a couple of videos for brokers which would walk them through how to use the system using our most common errors that we get. And then we went to our broker panel through the team and we tested these 2 videos with the broker panel. They were able to give us feedback on both the videos, which they preferred, which pieces they liked and didn't like. We then used all of that feedback to create 1 2-minute video, which then went live with the brokers and cut the errors that we were seeing by almost 70% in their applications that they were submitting. Again, and that's moved the last 2 months. We have 100 NPS and 100% customer satisfaction.
You've got 100 NPS?
With our brokers, yeah. On their surveys the last 2 months, 100 NPS.
That is amazing.
100% customer satisfaction.
So can you tell me how you describe your relationship working with FlexMR?
For me, it's been excellent from the start. When I first came on board with Saffron just over a year ago, I don't think we were utilising FlexMR as much as we should have been. We have, though, from the very first days that I started, had regular contact. Regular contact is every other week, diarised calls where we go through everything that's kind of on our minds, but we also have drop-in sessions in between that as well for anything that I need support with. But also it's the value they bring using their knowledge and experience in this field as well. So I will often go to Matt and Nikki as an example, and I'll give them a seed of something that's on my mind or something I'm thinking about that they are then able to take away, flesh out, come back to me with suggestions on this is what we think would work really well. These are the types of questions we think you can use. And it's those extra bits of knowledge that they have and that proactive will to want to add value to us that has made a huge difference. And also actually at the end of 2024, they came to one of our strategy meetings with all of product and marketing, and they sat, for maybe 4 or 5 hours and just listened to everybody's strategic priorities for 2025, then went away and created a calendar of support that they felt would work really well for us and the insight they could proactively start to plan ahead for us. And it's things like that that have just made it a great relationship that's really adding value.
It's brilliant. And you're I'm assuming from your perspective, it's better for you not to have to write a full 7-page formal brief. Much easier to have FlexMR come in, listen to what your stakeholders have to say. Or, as you said, I just let them know what was worrying me and then they came back with a response. That's a good working relationship, I'm assuming?
Absolutely. There are other places where their insight departments are 3-4 people deep. For me, it's just me, myself. So having that proactive support where they're able to help me flesh out ideas and be proactive with the support they can give has been a godsend for how much I've been able to achieve.
That's great, Jimmy. So how do you think technologies like InsightHub can help the industry move forward?
I think this technology can help the industry move forward by allowing us the flexibility to change direction or use different techniques as and when we see fit. So there are different features within that InsightHub that I would use for different types of projects. So whether it's a quick survey to find out how people are feeling, to testing a letter with our members and having the ability for them to document all of their commentary, to even testing websites and having them being able to look at the imagery and leave special markers, if you like, on certain sections on what they like, what they don't like. It's all of these features means we're not stuck using one particular way of doing things, one template. We've got a suite of opportunities to use to look at things differently on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thinking about the market research as a sector, or as an industry, can you just tell me what things that you think that sector, the market research sector, does really well?
John, I've really been thinking about this, and for me, there's one thing that's really stood out for me when I was thinking about it, and that's the ability to react to its environment. So the example I would give is, I think the last couple of years, consumer duty has been a really huge topic for all of us. And FlexMR being able to have this letter testing function where we're able to test our letters, the language it's used, the layout, whether it meets our obligations from a consumer duty perspective. These are the types of things that just didn't exist a couple of years ago. We didn't have to do it. But I think the industry's ability to flex, for want of a better word, to what is happening in the environment around us, I think is the best thing.
Okay. And finally, if you could challenge the market research industry to adopt one new mindset or practice, what would that be and why?
For me, it's kind of going to be like even more flexibility, but it's a feature that I think if we had something like this, it would inspire a lot of creativity, I think. So often you don't know you're missing something until someone can point it out to you, or you don't realize there's a gap until somebody else sparks something and you think, do you know what? I never ever thought of that. And I think an open AI type of facility where any member of the organization or anyone anywhere could highlight a button saying this is a problem, and others could come along and hit that button as well. I think that is an issue as well. And it's kind of like a voting feature where you could say, okay, according to the people out there, this is a hot topic at the minute. Or here's the hot topic, here's lots of ideas, and there's an open feature where people can come and say, I think this would be great if everybody could do this. And everyone could see it and everyone could look and think, that's a great idea, I like that, or no, I don't like that at all. It's kind of like a visual pie chart, if you like, of ideas that, like I said, sometimes you don't know what you're missing or what could happen until somebody points it out for you. And I just think something where an open world, if you like a free play world where anyone could go in and leave a comment and we see what the reaction's like from that global mass of people that are using it, that would show you really quickly what the hot topics are or what the possible solutions could be to whatever that the issue is of today.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Great. Jimmy, thank you very, very much for joining us today. You've been great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue.